Okay, so today we are looking at how to draw a flat. So we will have discussed already through the PowerPoint what a flat gets used for, and you will know that your flat drawing is the drawing that goes with the garment blueprint. So it has to be accurate. It has to be accurate rescale and detail, and it must be proportionate. Okay, so what you'll see in your drawing will also be supported by what you've written in the task on your spec sheet. So sometimes the drawing that you're going to do, this type of drawing, is referred to as a flat, sometimes it's referred to as a spec. It means the same thing. It's basically an accurate, proportionate drawing that's going to go onto the spec sheet and into the spec pack. Okay, so one of the first things you need is some sort of template to make sure that you are being accurate in terms of the body proportions. Now, I would suggest that you start by practicing drawing actual garments, because we need to make sure you understand where waists come, elbows, all that sort of thing. You could draw a garment that's on a mannequin, or you can lay it out flat on the floor. You could use images of fashion from magazines just to sort of get you going and get used to looking at garments and sort of pinning down exactly what the design details are. Anyhow, I'm going to go straight in and I'm going to draw a shirt that would be related to all of the pattern cutting techniques, or some of the pattern cutting techniques that we've looked into over the past month. And I'm going to use, I think, the leg and mutton sleeve and the really outsized two-piece collar. So, first thing I'm going to do is I have a proportionate template here. I've copied one off for all of you, I think. And I'm just going to sellotape that to the table. You're better off using masking tape, but I don't have any at the moment, so sellotape it is. We don't want this wobbling about. Okay. So the paper you're going to draw on, you might want to draw directly onto the spec. I would say that's sort of unlikely at this stage. I like to use, let me get the front of the layout paper. Layout paper's great. It's really quite see-through. If I lay that on top of the template, I think even you can see through it. Ordinary like copier paper, put it on, you can see through but not as clearly. The other paper, but I think mainly it's because I just love tracing paper for some reason. Tracing paper, I mean, you completely see through it. So it's entirely up to you which paper you use, but really what I'm saying is you need to be able to see through it, at least a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start by drawing a front. So I'm going to position my paper over this front mannequin. I'm going to pop a bit of sellotape on that as well. Like I say, you're better off with masking tape, but needs must and all that. Here we go. A bit of sellotape to make sure that that's clear. So unless you're making something that's asymmetric, one of the first things you're going to do in pencil is make a line directly down the centre of your mannequin, because that is going to be your centre front. It occurs to me I haven't talked you through the equipment. Let's have a look at that. Okay, I've got a nice fine line there. What I have a propelling pencil that's fine. I have another propelling pencil that's fine for no other reason than I like to have a couple on the go at a time. I've got an eraser, which I will definitely need. I won't need the pencil sharpener because I've got propelling pencils, and I have got 4 pens here. So this one is 0.8 width. So if I do a line with that, just to show you, that's a 0.8 line. I've got another 0.8 here actually somewhere. That's a 0.8 also. It's a relatively thick line. I probably won't be using either of those. I'll be using the 0.4, fine, and a 0.1, which is beautiful skinny. Okay, so those are the pens that I'm going to be using, but first of all I'm in pencil, and I'm just going to work on half of this drawing. So I know that I've got a high collar here, so I'm going to go up the neck, drop it at the front as the collar would be, drop it into position there. I know that it's a two-piece collar as well, so I can drop that on, and then it's got a really long front to it, hasn't it? Okay, so I've drawn in the collar there. I know that this is going to overlap the centre front. Notice I'm using something with a straight edge to do this. I like to have, and you pick these up for, I think they're about 20p in the shop, set square. It's a protractor, isn't it? And I really like a French curve to make sure everything that I do is going to be really nice and accurate. Okay. I am going to say that I'm going to give this a French seam. So I'm going to come down here. Luckily, with this template, you can see where the bust point is. And I'm just going to drop it down straight out through the centre front. I've got the outline of the body here, but I'm going to say I don't want it completely fitted to the body. So I'm going to come away from the body slightly at the waist, and I'm going to say that my shirt is coming almost to hip line. So I'm just going to make a decision there on the length that it's going to be. There we go. And I can draw in its shoulder line. That's almost half there. So I've got a line here that gives me my armhole depth. And I know it's not going to be a particularly deep armhole. I do know that it's going to be fitted to the arm in the lower part. So I can draw that fitted. I can draw myself the hem at the front. And I know that once we get up over the elbow is when all the fullness comes in. So this is when you either have to visualise internally what you believe is going to happen, or you need to get an image that shows you what will happen on a sleeve like you're proposing. And do the inside of the sleeve. The gathers. Can you remember we only gathered it on the head? So I'm marking in my gathers just on the head of that sleeve. That's one half done. If I'm feeling confident with that, what I can do now is I'm going to do it with my really skinny pen. Am I going to do it with the skinny one? I'll do it with the 0.4. I'm going to draw in what I've done because I'm fairly sure that's all perfect. Drawing its shoulder. Lovely. I'm going to draw this in. Now you could be using your curve to draw that in. I am going to draw in this line, which is the overlap, and I know it's a two-piece collar, so I just need to add in there the line for the under collar. I know it's going to have buttons. I could at this point say it's going to have a button here, it's going to have one here, one at the bust line. I'll then measure between those two so that I make sure that I get the next buttons. Oh, that's handy, they're a centimetre apart. I'm going to button it right down to the bottom, almost like it's a little jacket. Or am I going to stop there? I think I'm going to stop there actually. That means we've got 5 buttons in total. Armhole. tracing over the pencil line that I'd made, and I'm marking in my gathers as I'd marked them. I'm also going to do the hem. A bit on the ruler. Okay, also if you lay a garment out flat, you can also see what's happening at the back neck. So I'm just going to go back in with my pencil and I'm going to draw where the back neck would be, which is there. Okay, so far so good. Oh, let me mark in the princess line seam. Lovely, princess line seam marked in. All seams are marked with a solid line. You'll use a dotted line to show where any top stitching is. So at the moment we're not worrying about what top stitching may or may not be happening. Now, because this is a symmetrical garment, we are now going to want to get the other side exactly the same. So I'm going to unstick that top layer. I'm going to fold my drawing down the centre front, so not where the button stand ends, or the button wrap ends, but where the buttons are, that's my centre front, and I'm folding it in half. We're now going to flip this, and because we're working on fine paper, got a white sheet underneath, I can see the other side of this drawing. I haven't folded it exactly in a straight line, and I need to make sure that I've got that exactly straight. Okay. So when I do this, I can now see where the sleeve is on the other side, and I'm going to concentrate and make sure that I'm drawing those lines in exactly the same place as they're drawn in on the first side. I can get the side seam exactly right. I can get the princess line in exactly the same position. I can get the collar in identically, and the shoulder line. Okay, let's unfold this. And can you see there that we now, oh, I didn't do that little line because it was in pencil. Do these, I'm going Sadly, I've gone over a little bit there. That'll have to be Tipp-Ex now. Okay. Oh, can't find a nice curve for that one. Go straight up, straight out. That's pretty much looking like I would want it to. apart from this, that's a bit dodgy. But everything else, we can see that it's two-piece collar. You can see where the buttons go. We can see that it's symmetrical. I'm going to say we can erase the pencil from previously. There we go. Pencil lines gone. What we do need on there are indications of where the top stitching is, if there's any top stitching. So I'm going to indicate that around the collar we've got top stitching. So I'm going in with a ruler and I'm going to do a little broken line. Now obviously they're not going to be as small as actual stitches proportionately, but that little broken line will tell everybody that what needs to happen there is top stitching. There we go, that's better. We'll do that on both. I'm going to say we're going to have a turn and turn again hem on this, but I'm making it a fairly big turn and turn again hem. So it means in my written instructions I'll be saying this is probably a 2–2.5 centimetre turn and turn again hem. Lovely, and I'm going to give us a tiny little turned up hem here. So that's our front done. The great thing now about having done our front is that the outside of the garment will probably be exactly the same as that. So, what we can do for the outside of the garment is we can fold again and trace off the outline of the shirt. So and we will know that this is going to be, now back armhole will be slightly different, so I'm going to wait till we've got it pinned onto our little mannequin here before I commit. And we've got a dart here if I remember rightly. Okay, so and a dart going up to the elbow, as I remember. We need to think about what we're going to have in terms of shaping at the back. I'm just going to give us the outline of the collar, because the outline of the collar will be the same, but what happens within is different. Right, I've got that. I'm now going to draw over it again. I know this might seem a lot of drawing and drawn over it, but honestly it's so much quicker than trying to work from scratch and get something that's exactly proportionate. Oops. We have the dart. You're going to be way more accurate than me, because there we go, that's our outline. I'm going to pop that onto my back mannequin, I'm lining it up with the shoulders because this will allow me to give it the proper armhole for the back. I'm going to say I'm going to give it like a princess line down through the back as well. So I'm going to come out through the, and here I go. Again, I'm drawing that without folding it because I can see where the lines are underneath. And then for the collar, I just need a straight line or a slightly curved line that goes across there. Let me have a look. Yes, that kind of looks like I would intend to have it. So at this point, I can get rid of this underneath. Get myself a nice white sheet underneath, and then I just have to colour in on top. So here we go. What have I got in my hand here? That's 0.01, that's really tiny. So let's go for the 0.4. And then we're just going to go down through, tracing off our pencil line. Okay. While I'm here, I will swap to my skinny pen and I'll give myself my top stitching from the Turn and Turn Again hem. At the same height up. Ooh, I'm going to need to do it around the collar as well. If there's a detail that's happening on the front, you must make sure that detail runs through into the back also. So I'll do that for my little dotty hems on everything. Dot. Dot. I'd much prefer if that had a facing for the hem, but so all the outside lines of the garment, all of the seam lines are solid lines, all of the top stitch lines are broken lines, or little dashes if you like. Okay, I'm rushing this a bit, you're going to be much more careful with it. But there we have a proportionate drawing of the shirt with the big collar and the leg and mutton sleeve, semi-fitted. It could be worn outside like a jacket, or it could be tucked into something which gives it a much tighter fit at the waist. So yeah, any questions? Let me know.